listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Yeah, what's going on, Shamaya?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. You got Joe Papalardo for the next 8 minutes. Take it away.
All right, appreciate it.
I'm here. Thank you.
All right, appreciate you, sir. All right, here we go. Welcome back to R&B Focus Radio. Once again, we are here today, and we have another special guest this morning. Today, we're talking to Joe Papalardo. He is going to talk about his new recent book that he just released yesterday, Boomtown, the true story of the wickedest town in Texas. It took place back in Borger, Texas in 1927, and he's going to tell us all about it this morning. So first and foremost, Joe, thank you for your time. How you doing?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you, Shemai.
So tell us about this true story in history, and why did you want to bring this to life now?
Yeah, really. I mean, of all places, why Borger in 1927? One of the reasons why people really don't know it, and I thought, what a great canvas to be able to paint. You know, I always wanted to make a town sort of come alive in a book, and I never found a place that steadily delivered until I started reading into Borger during that particular time. It was only in existence for a year, but this was a place that, you know, in 90 days it went from 0 people to 45,000 people, and you know, you get growth like that, it's going to be a messy place, open sewers and no lights and everything, but it's going to attract a certain element, and it did, by design, I might add. You know, the town founders were known in Oklahoma for having open cities that just ignored prohibition, invited prostitutes, invited gambling, speakeasies, you name it. That was not a symptom. That was by design. That was part of the reason why Borger did so well in the initial days. Everyone knew you could make money there. And the same corrupt police that ran that town came to Borger as well. So you knew that you could pay the police off and there's going to be some kind of organized crime to it. So that was all very attractive to people who were customers and for people who want to make money off it. And when you get all those people, you get the people who want to sell bread to those people. So you sort of get the people who are just looking for a second chance who show up as well. And so it was really interesting to see that dynamic sort of playing out of like the underworld and the straight world trying to, cohabitate the same space at the same time. And with the corruption and the violence, as a backdrop to all that, those characters who are trying to make their way. It was really a cool dynamic, and that town just rewarded me time and time again. I can't tell you.
And with all the chaos that was going on in Borger town, there was a guy, Texas Ranger Captain Frank Hamler. He stepped on the scene, and before he was famous for tracking Bonnie and Clyde, he was pretty busy doing some other things.
Yeah, he was in this, he came up as an old school ranger, horseback, and, he had killed, a couple dozen people and been involved in scores more gunfights. I mean, this is the hard man of Texas, the number one hard man of Texas. But it's later in his life, and he's more of an investigator. I mean, he'll still draw his gun, especially to hit someone over the head with it, as it has been described. But he's not, maybe looking for gunfights as much as or turning to his gun to solve solutions as maybe he was earlier in his life, which makes it interesting because that was his solution for Bonnie and Clyde, for sure. But he was in a different position in life here, and he was really the governor's man. When the governor needed a 5-iron to take care of a problem, if it was a diplomatic problem somehow with Mexico, and they needed, someone with some law enforcement creds, he would show up. If it was a political corruption in Austin, there he is. If it's, investigating a bombing, there he is. So he's an investigator, and he's a political corruption investigator, and he's all these other things. And now he's being dumped into this town to be a political corruption, local political corruption, to root that out, as well as all the street crime. And if that sounds familiar, yeah, you recognize that's a tall order. Right, you can only get so much done as the occupation drags on, and you lose support of the citizenry, and you see that happening and playing out in Borger over the course of the year.
One Once again, this morning we're talking to our guest today, Joe Papalardo, in his book, Boomtown, the true story of the wickedest town in Texas. My next question for you is, when you were digging into research, were there any big surprises while digging into this violent, vice-filled chapter in Texas history?
I had a lot of surprises, and again, Borger just kept delivering, time and time again. It would usually be a character that would reveal themselves to be something that they weren't. There was a traffic cop in town that I got interested in. His name was Horace Norton. And I knew him from a picture at first. I saw him in a picture with Frank Hamer and the rest of the cleanup crew. And some of those guys were later arrested and and implicated in the vice. So you didn't necessarily know which side you're on just from that picture. So I dig into him a little bit, and there he is shooting someone to death in a dance hall a few months before taking the state position as the traffic cop in Borger, basically. And later in his career, you see him, being mocked in the newspapers for dressing like a dandy and running around Main Street. They used to call him the Jelly Bean. So I guess he took that person because he took to shooting cars that would try to ticket cars and they drive away and he'd shoot at them. So like the saga of Horace Norton is entirely surprised. I did not write a book to profile this forgotten weirdo, right? I just didn't. But there he was, almost like waiting for me. And he's got a romance, tied up into his story. On top of all that, there's a woman in town that during his troubles, they decide to run away and get married. And then they return so he could face justice. It's it's just the town that keeps on giving, and you'd be a fool not to tell a rousing story about that. I would be a malpractice if I couldn't.
After bringing this untold story back from the haze of history, like I said earlier, what's one big takeaway from about justice, corruption, and maybe human resilience that you think readers will appreciate taking away?
For all the cynicism that pervades the book, I don't consider it nihilistic. I think the takeaway is maybe much like the takeaway of Fargo, which is, sometimes the simple decency is its own victory, and this constant striving is, can be unhealthy. But at the same time, if you've got something, be prepared to fight for it. If you're a wrestler, like there's one in Borger, fighting for his hometown title. There's a dance hall operator fighting for legitimacy, and there's a mayor fighting to keep his job, and everyone's got something, and everyone else wants to take it away from you. So if you do strive, be prepared as well, because once you leave that simplicity of your own sort of self-worth and you try to change something or establish yourself, there's someone else who's probably got the idea, and especially in Texas, you better be able to put up your dukes.
Yeah, that's definitely facts right there. Once again, this morning, talking to our special guest today, Joe Papalardo, and his new book, Boomtown, the true story of the wickedest town in Texas. You can get it right now. It's available whenever you get books. Like I always want to say to you, Joe, thank you for your time.
Hey, the pleasure was mine anytime.